We're live.
3, 2. Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Greg Hectus.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, it's off week, Brad Wren.
Yes, NIS off week. NIS off week. Wow.
David Hall.
So we're just nissing off then, right? Are we all nissed off?
And William Westbrook.
Hey, glad to be back after my unexpected absence last week.
Welcome. On today's show, Motorsports Games gets another cash infusion. Find out who was crowned Porsche Cup champion. More sim to reality news. Take a detailed look at how many direct drive bases compare on price. Has Next Level Racing have a winner with their new sim rig? And is iRacing in a good spot or is it in trouble?
That's right, Mike. And remember that you can follow along with us on your PC or your mobile device in real time as you listen to the show and see for yourself all of the great topics and products we'll discuss by visiting iRacersLounge.com. Select the show notes. We hope to see you there.
All right, we'll kick it off with a sim to reality story or just more examples of iRacing being used to help real life drivers prepare for races. We've got an ex post from Alan Cavana saying that Jason Love plans on running 2,000 laps in the simulator this week to prep for his Cup debut on Sunday, and that includes 2 500-lap races on iRacing.
So, what races did he run on iRacing? It wasn't full distance this job.
Probably hosted or league races or something. I know that the major series had the Coke 600 or World 600 actually running this weekend. Hated that I missed it, but yeah, that must be what it is some kind of hosted race.
Well, pretty cool to hear, that rookies, you're going into a track in the Cup Series for the first time. What do you do to prep? Well, you get on iRacing.
All right, next up we have something from Dirty Bow Media with Junior.
This was awesome. So he had Tony Kanaan and Larson on the show, and they got to talking about iRacing and what happened during the COVID, when COVID hit, where NASCAR drivers were running on iRacing and they had the Indy cars running on iRacing, and talked about how passionate the Indy car drivers were versus the NASCAR drivers over the driver chat in iRacing during those races. And he specifically called out Will Power as being the most vocal, like talking smack and that kind of thing. He also talked about Lando Norris, who had joined the race, was actually smoking those guys because he's a regular sim racer. And somebody, I think it was Pagano, went after him and actually wrecked him on purpose. I mean, there was a lot of bad blood, but it was fun to kind of relive those moments.
I thought it was interesting. Kanaan said that, when he first got on the sim, he just didn't think it was useful, didn't enjoy it. And now you look at what he does. He's built the garage out, he's got his own brand and all of that. So I think that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a neat time in sim racing. I don't think we'll ever have that again. I mean, where, a virus hits the world and it changes motorsports, like that, in a way that they came over to our sim. It was very interesting times.
Well, we haven't had one of these for a while, but we've got a not top 10 video, and I did not make it.
It's a pretty good watch. Normally, it's been a long time since we've had one. So, but these are too good to pass up. If you like wrecks and carnage and pileups, I mean, this first one is the pileup on the front stretch at Indy. They can't even get through. It's crazy.
That was the I think the ARCA car, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they're going down the straightaway. They're not even in a corner.
And of course, there's the Long Beach hairpin, that's pretty notorious for pileups there where you can't get through.
Yeah, there's a Sebring start, which is an absolute disaster. I'm not sure anybody actually got through the first corner.
That might have been my actual race because I remember our Sebring started with wrecking before we even got to turn 1.
Yeah, and what's the wet? Sorry, Brad, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, I mean, as they're coming to the green, they're starting to wreck, and then even, those come behind them coming out of Sunset are wrecking even before they get to the front straight. So the one thing I think would be, I don't know, I wonder what the SOF of some of these are.
What's the wedge car? It looks like a wedge. It's a Nissan XPT or something.
Yeah,
so they're at Bathurst, and the guy loses his wing going down the hill. And instead of just kind of keep going or get out of the way, he just stops and they just create this huge pileup, and they literally can't get through.
I think the SOF bias is always a mistake because it happened in my split, and I'm not a low SOF.
Well, right? There's always a talk about bottom split stuff, so and I'm saying,
but it happens in every split.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it always happens in bottom split. The one with I guess there was IndyCar, dirt cars, and Jettas at maybe Hickory or something.
Oh, IMSA on the oval. Yeah, I was just watching that one.
Yeah, it looks like a league decided to turn damage off and run IMSA at Hickory and have fun. That looks like actually a good time.
We did it. What did we do? Dover? What did we do? GTPs and GT3s at Dover?
No, we did just GT3s, and it was it was literally a plate race. You didn't have to lift. So another example of why GT cars probably don't belong on ovals. NASCAR.
I think a lot of iRacers miss out on fun like this. Look, guys, iRacing is serious and it's serious racing, but there's a fun aspect to it. Come out on a Saturday night, get into hosted. Get in one of these Chris McGuire races and try one of these crazy things. Like we did the Pro 2 trucks at South Boston, and it was a blast. It was like demo derby style, and it was just so much fun. There were like 60 trucks, massive traffic.
How many direct drive wheels and damaged wrists are involved in a wreck like some of these wrecks?
You definitely turn it down for stuff like that.
I like that GTP that rode the fence though. That was pretty cool.
All right, I'm previewing this next item, and it's talking about exploitable damage on a Gen 3 car, and it's talking about a wing, so that can't be the Cup car then.
No, it's the supercar, the Australian supercars. Yes, we had a forum post from Corey Preston, and he is extremely detailed as he works through this. Apparently, with the Gen 3 car, if you were to knock their rear wing off, the car was quicker. He did multiple tests on this to show they were doing it in Mid-Ohio. So he spends quite a bit of time detailing this out and immediately gets a response from Christian Challoner and says he'd look into it. And then if you read the thread, it's a lot of back and forth between Corey and Christian. And the amount of detail that Corey goes through is fantastic. But these are the things I think sometimes are neat to read, and you start to understand, I think we get aggravated at times with iRacing, but when you start to see what goes into developing these cars, it's a lot, and it's not easy when they're trying to. I mean, again, we're trying to mimic real world physics into a game, but some of the pictures that Corey puts up here still just fascinates me how detailed the car models are. He's got shots of the underbody, in the engine bay, and then looking up, up in the in the front wheel well where the wheel is. It's just, the amount of time they spend. And then I think what Christian says is one of the things they didn't do as far as some removable damage is because they actually didn't have data or pictures of that part of the car. So that's why they weren't going to have the part fall off.
It is a fascinating read if you're interested in this kind of thing. You're right. This is complex.
And I mean, how many people are going to, in the beta testing world, going to go damage the car and then see if it's faster? Okay, maybe that should be a part of the beta testing now that we've seen this happen. But I would have not thunk about that before seeing this.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I mean, the way that like Christian talks about, they're gonna, they're like he says in one of the posts, I've configured the repairs to prioritize the items that hurt performance the most. So now in this order from most impactful to least. So when you go in for repairs, it's going to do the rear wing first, then it's going to do the front nose or the splitter, then it's going to do the hood, then it's going to do the rear bumper, and then it's going to do the trunk. So again, it's we go in and we get stuff fixed, and I don't know. I guess I just never really thought about it. Is that they're fixing the car? Well, obviously there's a method to it and an order that is coded in on how they're going to fix it, as opposed to I guess I just kind of thought I'm sitting in the pits and everything's kind of getting fixed all at once. Well, no, it's not. There's some sort of structured order to how repairs are being done.
So is the wing just not visually being put on? Or is it just a glitch in the damage model?
Yeah, I think the issue was if you backed in, you could knock the rear wing off and then go drive, and you were quicker. So it wasn't a situation of it being fixed, but it's pretty neat. I think some of this did get addressed in the patch that we got yesterday, I believe.
All right. Next up, Mike, we have 100 for Robbie.
Yeah, Robbie, our most recent guest, Robbie Swan, let us know, man, he had 100 on the series challenge. And so I got to looking at this, guys. So the website you should go to and bookmark is challenge.duncanwatts.com. You type in your name and you can be part of the series challenge. It'll show you every series you've won in and haven't won in. And so I got to thinking, well, how hard would this be? I could do what Robbie does, right? And so I started looking at my list, and so it's broken into rookies, D, C, B, A. So I looked at rookie. I had 4 out of 13 in rookie. And so I said, okay, I'm going to start going through this week on the off week. And so the first rookie car on the list was the FF 1600, Formula 1600. So I ran about 5 or 6 of those so far this week, trying to win it. And it's hard. I can't get it done, and this is the rookie car, and just to imagine going forward, okay, I'm going to win all these in rookie. Then I'm going to go through the D's and the C's and the B's and the A's. And there's going to be all these super hard series like IndyCar and stuff. And IMSA, I'll never win in IMSA. It's like, so it's super hard and it's super impressive what Robbie Swan has done. But I think I have found a new passion trying to win in every car, or at least give it my best, effort.
I kind of like that it gives you your best finish too, where it shows you like, you try and, move yourself up in certain cars. Like I realized I've never won an IMSA race at all. So it's kind of interesting.
Right. So, like, for example, on the rookies, as I scroll down, I have a finish in the Pro 2 light truck, but it's only 6th, my best. Try it, guys. It's interesting. See if you can win in every car.
Once again,
Yeah, you may look it up right now.
I was gonna say once again, Mike, why is this a third party doing? It's like there's nothing you can find like this, and I guess iRacing will tell you what cars you've won in, right? It'll slash it off the list on your achievements, right?
But that's the thing. They need to present this to the iRacer. They, like you say, it should be part of the UI. You go into stats and it says series challenge or something. You click on it and you have this, what this guy has developed. And you get, an award every time you win one or something. It'd be cool.
Thanks,
All
Mike. I'm looking at this and I'm getting depressed because I don't have a lot of wins.
Yeah.
It's eye opening, isn't it?
There's someone here that I guess I won years and years ago, and I forgot that I won. I was like, I won a race in Spec Racer Ford. That had to have been probably like 10, 15 years ago.
I don't even remember. I got a third place in a rookie street stock. I don't remember running a street stock race.
Everyone try it. And then you listeners, let us know if you decide to try it, how it goes. And then if you guys see Robbie Swan out there, buy that man a beer. Holy cow.
All right, William, tell us what is in whose hands.
Yeah, so Robert Wickens is an IMSA driver. Many people know him, but if you don't, he's paralyzed from the waist down.
He's also Canadian.
And also Canadian. Yes, Greg.
Well, we won't hold that against him.
So I believe he runs Brian Herta, or did run. Is he Brian Herta? He runs a TCR in the Cup Series in IMSA right now.
He did. He did last year.
Yeah, and I know I've seen the car at a couple of events I've been to. I don't think I've ever met him specifically, but I mean it's fascinating the mechanical adjustments they've made to allow him to drive. On the TCR, it was a hydraulic or an electric paddle system they put on the back of the wheel. It goes down to the hydraulic brake, and he's moving up to the Corvette GT3 this year, and the video is mainly him going through the differences in the braking systems they've done. Now it's a completely brake-by-wire system. He shows how it's like a paddle on the back of the car, or on the back of the wheel. It goes to a spring on the back that makes it to where his brake feels the same every single time, and it can put the same pressure just like we would, pressing down on the pedal with our foot. It's a really cool watch. If you haven't checked it out on the IMSA Instagram, it's worth your minute and a half it takes.
Well, it's really for the disabled iRacers out there that use these type of wheels. There are some tech out there for sim racers to do this, and up until his brakes a certain way, as you stated, on that wheel. Now he's got this new system with the wire. I'm wondering, can we translate this new system over to the sim racing community, the folks that use this stuff? It sounds like it's super, effective as far as braking, the way he described it, in comparison to his old way.
Yeah, they worked with Bosch on creating this, and like William said, this is a change from the previous. This is completely, by wire. Yeah, there's some longer videos if you go to the IMSA YouTube page that really dig into the detail about this. But he made his first start this past weekend at the Long Beach Grand Prix, and yeah, I mean, they were quick right off the bat. So super cool. I'm glad to see him get the opportunity. For those that don't know, he was paralyzed, I think, in a 2018 crash in IndyCar at Pocono. Is how he got hurt. But yeah, just super cool. And I mean, the neat thing with this is, it's all electronic. So when he gets out, and like this past weekend, it was Tommy Milner was racing with him. Tommy gets in, flips the switch. All that stuff is disabled, still using the same steering wheel, and Tommy's using, the pedals. He's using the paddles on the back, the shift gears, and all that stuff. So it's just really cool. And I know Robert's running I think he's running all of the sprint races in IMSA this year for DXDT racing. So
is there a disadvantage at all? I haven't watched him get in and out of the car. Do they have a time disadvantage because he's without leg?
No, so he started the car at Long Beach, and they literally almost the same amount of time. He comes in, crew member goes over there and basically just snatches him out. This big guy goes in there, just snatches him up, picks him up out of the car, just snatches him. So it takes
a while to fill the car up and change tires anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, just super cool. And like Mike, like you said, I mean, I think this, David, this made me think of you when you were having pedal issues, and you sent your stuff off. I think what you got in a I don't remember what track we were at, but you got in a cup race and you were using the paddles on the back of your wheel as throttle and brake, and you didn't do too terrible.
Yeah, it was Atlanta, I believe.
Now,
And
would
it's
that
not the
have
first
worked
time I've
at,
had to do it.
would that have worked at Martinsville, David?
With enough practice, yeah, I think.
Yeah, with an
I
analog
mean,
paddle.
it doesn't. It's not like I'd have to really. It'd probably be less fatiguing, because there was only 3-lap runs.
Huh.
All right. So this next one, though, is really, really a shot out of the park, isn't it, Mike?
Just a quick hit. MLB, Major League Baseball, put up some promotional videos of some of their superstars on the rig going around Bristol and, getting their reaction, the facial reaction and so forth. And this thing is wicked, was his quote. I don't really know who these guys are. I don't know anything about baseball, but the guy was Ozzy Albies.
Yep. So I mean, he plays for my Braves. He's our second baseman. And yeah, he plays for Cincinnati. So yeah, I mean, two of the younger stars in the MLB, and they got on, and it's not as easy to look, is it? I have people all the time, yeah, your rig's cool, but I bet I could get in there and turn the laps. I'm like, oh, okay, come try it.
They're spin out. They spin out before they even get up to speed.
Yeah, see, Ozzy did a 16 at Bristol, so that's a couple seconds off the pace, right?
Yeah, a second and a half. So, but yeah, so they're holding I think it's this summer. They're actually holding a baseball game, Major League Baseball game there at the track, aren't they?
Yeah, in Bristol Infield. Yep.
It's probably being set up as we speak because I think they were waiting for the NASCAR race and then starting it.
It'd probably be better than the race was.
More tire wear on the golf carts going around.
So I don't know if any of us will have an opinion on this next one because I don't think any of us ever run it. I've run it like once.
I feel like I want to run it now because of this.
So we got why I think the Lotus 79 is the best car with the best racing in iRacing. A post from John J. Hill in the forums. He gives 8 reasons here. Now, look, set that aside. I watch these guys Sunday morning race. They're on the iRacing YouTube channel, and they're racing Lotus 79s. And this last week on Sunday, it was very entertaining. I mean, these guys were mixing it up. I was entertained. It was like watching an old style F1 race, kind of.
I don't think I own this car.
I don't own it.
But just a couple quick hits. Some of the reasons. So it's got the biggest, fattest rear tires in all of iRacing. Analog gauges, 5-speed shifter. No battery to save up, and virtual V8 Cosworth engine. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I've never driven it.
It's all mechanical. It makes mechanical grip with a little bit of aerodynamics. That's what makes it.
So it's essentially a road racer saying the same thing as I wish we could go back to the 87s or something like that.
You're pretty much dead on. We did run this car for the Majors series the one year, David, at Laguna Seca, didn't we?
I ran it once.
Sorry,
and
not
was
Laguna Seca.
pretty terrible at
it.
it.
It was Long Beach, sorry.
I thought that was the 49.
No, that was something else.
I've run the 79 once and the 49 once.
I wonder
And
if the 49 was the Watkins Glen one then.
Maybe. I don't remember which track. I just remember the 70. I was really bad at the 79. The 49 actually drove more like a stock car. So it was more relatable.
Yeah, but check the broadcast, guys, on Sunday mornings, and you might like it.
I'm interested to see what participation's like. Is it only got one time that people are on?
Don't know.
Probably.
All right. Well, we have a report from listener and friend of the show, Jeff Marble, pointing out that what do you, I forget what you would call this. I'm drawing a blank. A place where they would gather up and run sim racing
For a fee.
An e-shop?
What does it even have a name?
E-racing
Sim shop? So the name of this one's Send It Sim Racing.
So it's like an e-racing center, I guess, or something like yeah. But basically, almost an arcade for sim racing. Yeah, it's going out of business. Apparently, and they're selling off their stuff. As of whenever this message was sent to Mike, it was only 3 rigs left.
So it looks like they were outside of Buffalo, New York. So I don't know. We've seen a bunch of these start to crop up, and I'm reminded of is it the Prodigy or somebody? They're doing there's basically a contest where you actually go to different sim centers and race. I think we were talking. I don't know. We were talking sometime about just the amount of cost to set up and all this stuff, and what have you got to do in order to be profitable?
Yeah, a quote from Jeff was, quote, I asked him how business was going while I was there. He said it's tough to get people to show up. He went and handed out flyers at many local car shows, and it just didn't work.
It's a niche, right? Like it's hard to get people to go to even an arcade now unless it's part of something where you're going for something else too, right? So like a specific shop like this, because I know we have a like a retro gaming store where you got like Nintendos and stuff like that, but it's with a bar theme, so you can like game at your table, and it kind of brings people around. But this stuff, it's such a small market. It's tough.
Well, we talked about last week. We talked about last week stuff like the arcade in Chicago, where it's a bar and all the games are actually set to free play, and they make all their money from the bar and food. So you talk about how niche this is. On top of that, unless we're just like when we're in Chicago, we might go find. Well, we're not going to have to go find one because there's going to be one in the expo. But let's say we were all kind of in the area. If we're sim racers, why would we want to go get on another rig when we've already got our rig working?
Well, it's like I feel like it needs to be. This needs to be like what they did like Cruisin' USA, where they used to have back in the day with the arcades, where they used to have you set up these kind of rigs. Like iRacing needs to have like a set up one where they can go into arcades and have it as like their own thing. I think that's the only way that this type of stuff works. That you having it like David, you just said there. It's like I don't go to, in the wintertime we go to golfing simulations for indoors, but when it's like time of year when it's warm out, you go golfing on a golf course, right?
So I follow a bunch of these places, and there are some that are thriving. This one is Oasis Sim Racing out of New Braunfels, Texas. They are full. Like he puts up an Instagram story. Every sim rig has somebody in it, and that's every day almost. Now his hours are limited though. He's closed on Monday. He's open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday only in the evening. Friday to Saturday and Sunday full 8 hours. But yeah, so he's thriving. There's another one called Denver something out of Denver, Colorado, and he has motion rigs and he keeps real busy. But part of the way he keeps business is he does F1 watch parties too.
So, William, you've got one not too far from you, don't you?
Yeah, you guys talked about it last week. I didn't even know it was there, to be honest. I don't know when it opened. It's like 10 minutes from my house, so I will at some point go check it out. I think these places are really cool, and I hope that they thrive. But for the amount that they have to charge to stay profitable, after I've gone 4 or 5 times, well, might as well put money into a rig at that point. So I don't know. It's an interesting dilemma I think they've got, and I think the ones that are going to thrive are going to do something special like that, like the F1 watch parties, or they're going to be combined with a bar and food and stuff like that. I don't think you're going to be able to make it just as a sim center. It's going to be tough.
Well, I have one that's like 45 minutes to an hour away, and the only time I've ever really wanted to go there is if I was downtown that area doing like deliveries in my truck because I was out there doing something. But I I can't justify driving an hour to do something I can do at home, to be honest, unless it's something I want to test out, or or maybe look at for the podcast here and just like get a field to talk about here on the podcast type thing.
All right. Should iRacing be worried? And I'm seeing something about GT3 drivers with Le Mans Ultimate. So I'm going to throw this one to William.
Yeah, so there was a lot of discussion, and I think it kind of started with the news that Pimax is going to be investing $2.5 million in motorsport games. So we've got like 3 or 4 different stories kind of combined into should iRacing be worried about competition? First one comes up with Daniel Morad. He's kind of comparing the two games. Who does GT3s more realistic? I was actually surprised when I watched the video because I thought he was going to say, yeah, Le Mans Ultimate's ultimately more realistic or blah blah blah, but iRacing does competition better. He kind of came out on the side of each platform does something better, and none of them really truly get it correct. It says, for example, the tires, Le Mans Ultimate goes on the other side of what's realistic, too far, and iRacing doesn't go far enough as far as slip angle and the feel of the car actually moving on the tire. And then similar for, the throttle, he says Le Mans Ultimate, does that better. So it's worth your watch. I know we talked about Murad a few times on here. He's factory driver for Mercedes. He knows what he's talking about. So it's a really interesting watch. Again, I was surprised. I myself have not gotten on Le Mans Ultimate yet, but I know some of the guys I race with have, and they have generally pretty positive things to say about it. The other,
go ahead.
I was just going to quickly go through the other two things. They just finished their 24-hour driver swap test in Le Mans Ultimate. They kind of released without the ability to do driver swaps, and that's kind of a problem if you're the official game of WEC, so that was kind of disappointing for people when it released, and that's tests have been finalized for that, so that's coming, and the theory is you'll get some more WEC tracks as it comes in.
Pimax trying to burn their cash. I mean,
David's money.
Look, every company that has invested in the motorsports games has not recouped their money that I'm aware of. They've burned it.
I think they've done a better job with this release, but look, Daniel even says it's based off of R Factor. At the end of the day, it's what it is, and he was not surprised that it behaved a certain way it did because it behaved like R Factor does. He says if you could basically take the two of them and bury them together, let them have a baby, you probably have a good sim because there's good points and bad points to both of them. Should iRacing be worried? No, I don't think so. From an endurance series aspect, is Le Mans maybe a little bit better? Sure. It's focusing on one thing. iRacing is not strictly just a sports car or an endurance, sim. It's stock cars. It's open wheels. It's dirt. It's everything.
It was a clickbait title.
Not necessarily. I don't think it's
should have what that title should have been. Should iRacing's IMSA WEC be worried, not the iRacing in general?
Well, that came from we got a message from Jeff Wooper. Has sent, I guess, to Mike, says I think iRacing better start looking at their sim competitors' advancements. Again, I think it's pretty easy when you focus on one discipline and one discipline only to be very good at it, and that's a good thing and it's a bad thing. I do think iRacing struggles at times with that because it's trying to do everything very well, and everybody knows that you can't do everything very well. And I think look, you can read on the forums. I think one of the biggest complaints I'm starting to see is the dirt side. Dirt racers haven't gotten anything for quite a while in iRacing, and there's a lot of complaints there. Well, they're focusing on other stuff, and I don't think iRacing needs to be worried. Yes, Le Mans Ultimate is getting some traction, but I think when you look at the number of players, it's nowhere near where iRacing is. And it is even more niche than iRacing is.
Yeah, I don't
Unfortunately,
think
it means we're definitely not going to see the Le Mans 24 come back anytime soon.
Well, if you want to compare it to Le Mans Ultimate, if you go to, it depends on how you want to see things, but on the Steam page, iRacing is in the top 100 in their downloaded or most downloaded things every month, and Le Mans Ultimate's not even in the top 100 list.
Yeah, iRacing doesn't need to be worried by any stretch, I don't think. Mostly for the reasons Brad said, I mean, they do a whole lot more than the Ultimate will ever think about doing. And they do the matchmaking and all that other stuff just so much better than anybody out there in the market. I would say, though, I can see them losing some GT3 drivers much more easily now than I could, 8 months ago when I first heard about this. When I first heard about this, I was like, oh, whatever. It's just, another one trying to come in, and they're not. And especially with the reputation that Motorsport Games had, I didn't think it'd be a thing to worry about. But now, I mean, it looks like they're actually kind of getting their act together.
What's the angle for Pimax to spend this kind of money on a company that's basically was going down the tubes? I mean, is this just a pure investment? Some kind of collaboration? Oh, they're going to build games that are for our Pimax headsets. I mean, what do you think? Yeah,
I think
they're burning cash. Light a match and burn it.
We'll see. All right. What we can't see, though, is this next forum post, Brad.
Yeah, so there was a forum post earlier in the week, and we had thrown it in the script. And it was the title of the forum post was iRacing, where wreckers thrive and words get you banned. So when I was getting stuff straight for the podcast yesterday, the post was magically gone. Surprise, surprise. But I think it's very telling to what a lot of us and a lot of the members are getting rather frustrated with.
Which takes us right into the next video.
Yeah, you just stole my thunder. I was going to say the same thing. It really takes us into the next video, which we got to preface this by saying, yeah, we're all still active members and probably complaining because we want to see iRacing stay on the top. But there are some issues, and we're going to hit those pretty hard now, as this video does. It's a post. I'll have to look up who it was from, or one of y'all can just tell me. Nick Nebon. Okay. Yeah, we've raced with him. He knows what he's talking about. And there's some really, really important points made in this post. And some of it needs to be addressed. The biggest thing that he really harped on more than anything was that scheduling change, as we've talked about before, has ruined a lot of series where they're just not making official in so many cases because so few people are signing.
Or we're not getting split.
And that's an additional point as well. And they talked about this a little bit in their last podcast iRacing did on the downshift, but they said they would look at the numbers and consider walking back. And I hope they're listening, because I think you don't need to just consider the numbers, but the quality of the racing, because that's exactly what Niban is pointing out here, is that the quality of the racing is going down because you're not getting to race in splits with drivers that you should be racing with. That's one of the reasons that I started running NIS originally, was because that the fields were so big. I was running with people all the same I rating. A Open is not too terrible, but still there's only usually one or two splits. One of the things that makes the NIS still sort of appealing is that it's all people that I've been the same I rating with it recently at some point. So That's the first one, is that it's just killing the splits. And he points out that they're basically competing with themselves in a lot of cases, which is also costing them a lot of participation.
The FF 1600 Ray car I told you I started running this week. Look, I jump in there to try to win a race, and there's a guy that's 4,300 I rating in there, and he's 2 seconds faster than everybody else. And there's only one split of this, because guess what? We race every 15 minutes in this car. So why are we having races every 15 minutes when there's only one split? So if he had made the races every half hour like they used to be, maybe you'd have 2 splits, and I wouldn't have to race the guy with 4,300 every single race. And so this really hit home for me this week when he started talking about, the way they did the scheduling change. Now we don't have splits anymore, and it's true. And it's really messed up the racing as far as I'm concerned. So I'm a big proponent of switching it back the way it was.
Yeah, if you take any time and just go through the forums, I mentioned to the guys earlier just the amount of posts that I'm seeing that with these complaints about the scheduling. It's just there's more and more of them. This is not having the intended effect that iRacing wanted. And look, I'm all about trying different stuff, but again, this is not a situation I think where you can just look at the numbers. I mean, they made some claim that the Indy series has got more numbers or something. I don't know, but when you start breaking it down again, but you don't have splits. And you don't have the other stuff going on. It's not fun when you get into a race. And look, it happens with me and IMSA sometimes. You have certain tracks that just don't have good attendance, and you decide to go ahead and get a race in. And I get in the lobby, I'm a 2,400 in sports car, and I look up and there's a guy that's a 6,000. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm probably racing for about 10th today. And that's just where it is. But on tracks where there is good attendance, I can run with 10 other guys that are comparable I ratings. And like David said, then I can have a race. Otherwise, it's just, I'm struggling just to finish where I'm going to finish.
And it goes right back to that quality versus quantity, in that would you really, they're saying they're getting better numbers than the Indy racing, but would you rather have 2 1-split races or 1 2-split race, or pick any number, but would you rather have
more splits, less races?
More splits, less races, and so this is something that really they've already said we'll consider rolling this back. We just want to see how it plays out for the season. They need to roll it back.
He talked about the stewarding problems too in this video, and look. You got people like the serial protester out there ruining people's days every single day. You got those kind of problems. You got a problem where you say one cuss word and boy, you're banned. You're chat banned no matter what.
It's not just cuss words. Any negative words, he'll call it bullying.
And then he goes into talking about, well, the people that are protested for wrecking and intentionally wrecking and stuff, guess what? They're racing in the next race an hour later, because of the delay of the stewarding system and this and that. And he talked about different ideas of how to make it more stringent. Maybe, lower these guys down a class from A class to B class and make them do MPR to get back up or something. If something like that happens, he had a lot of great ideas.
Well, he pointed out how we've said this a million times, fast track has destroyed the quality of racing. He points out that basically what iRacing would do is the way that you used to have to come up through the licensing system, you had to learn racecraft, and that's what the safety rating system did. It really means nothing now, the way it is, because of how quick you can come back. Jump in, or if you get demoted, you don't have to wait a season. You just keep going. So not only does the I rating or the safety rating system not punish dirty racing and sloppy racing, they're not willing to do anything about it through the stewarding either.
Yeah, I'd seen I don't know if it was on Reddit or if it was on the forums or something. Somebody had posted, and look, no fault to the guy, but he's like, I went from D to class, from a class D to a class A in 2 weeks. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? You have not learned anything if you're going to go from a D to an A in 2 weeks.
When NIS went to Bristol Dirt, I had never run a dirt race in official. At the end of the NIS week, I was Class C. At the end of the single week.
So that's the look. I know it's not fun to have to spend a season in each class, but you know what? Us that were on the service for from the very beginning, we did it, and you learned racecraft. You learned how to race. You ran different disciplines. You ran different size tracks, and you learned how to race. Mike, I agree with you. It's there needs to be some meat in something when it happens. If you get to a point where, look, if fast track is going to stay, then guess what? If you fast track up to an A and then you can't keep that, and you go back down to a B, then maybe, like you said, maybe you need to spend a season. Maybe it needs to take the remainder of whatever the season is to get your license back, because obviously you've shown that you don't deserve to have what you have.
And one of the things they've posted, I remember talking about this about a year ago. They said they were going to come up with some more inventive ways to punish instead of just the 1 week suspension. And I think if you can establish that somebody is just a menace to a series, they should be out of that series for the rest of the season. Let them run other stuff, but get them out of that series.
Well, look, Nick Debon is very passionate about iRacing like us, and he doesn't want to put out a video like this, but he does it out of love because he wants it fixed, and I think we all want it fixed. But there's definitely some key problems. The stewarding thing is a problem. They double up the schedule, time slot thing is a problem. These need to be addressed.
Well,
and they say they don't want to suspend. Sorry, they say they don't want to suspend. Typically because they'll probably lose that racer. We've got a teammate that said
literally,
if his stuff breaks, he's not going to replace it because of how bad the racing is.
Yeah, I mean, Nick even said, at the end of the video, look, if somebody was coming to me and saying I'm interested in getting an iRacing, he would tell them to wait, not to do it right now. That's concerning. And this is somebody who is consistent content creator, and I think does quite a bit and puts out very good videos when it comes to the content of iRacing. And for someone like that to say that he would not recommend iRacing to somebody looking to get into it, that's concerning.
I don't think I would. Would any of you guys recommend it? Like if you want to, especially how much it costs now to get going in it. I don't know.
I would still recommend it over any of the other sim games.
Yeah, it just depends. I guess maybe more recommending depending on where the person wants to go, what they're looking for. I guess is what you'd have to find out. I wouldn't recommend it as the first thing, unless they were really looking for a hardcore sim.
I got a coworker on iRacing actually. He's a guy from Egypt. Actually, he's a podiatrist from Egypt, an actual doctor, but he works here in the United States at Verizon. But anyway, he started, he would hear about my racing because I would talk about it at work, and he got hooked. He's hooked. He's in there. He's got him a wheel and everything.
All right. Well, we actually did not beat that horse too badly. So I downloaded a couple of sound effects, and I'm just going to drop it in once just for the lulls, but let's move on. William, tell us about the champion.
Yeah, so I'm the world's worst Pesk ambassador because I still haven't watched this over the weekend. But Cooper Webster clinched the Pesk title over the weekend. There was our last race at Le Mans. He finished first in the sprint race and somewhere. You know what? I can't find it in the feature. Oh, he's way down in 20th. There we go. But that was enough to finish it out. He wins the championship by 14 points over Jordan Caruso. And that wraps up another season. Like I said, unfortunately, haven't got to watch it yet, but I heard it was some pretty good racing. And not only with them, but also the All-Stars beforehand.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch it either. Unfortunately, I've tried to catch most of these. It's struggled for me to catch them, live. But I've tried to go back and watch them afterwards. But the last two, honestly, I have not had a chance to
Yeah,
watch.
it was a pretty full weekend of sports and motorsports, so unfortunately, it just didn't make the list.
All right, season 2, patch 4 release notes is next. What do we got here? Just little things. Updated Spanish spotter calls,
So if I let my wife
graphical artifacts.
if I let my wife run my rig, should I change her spotter to Spanish and see if she'll understand it?
There's some
Yeah.
Supercar Gen 3 changes here, Brad, you alluded to.
Yeah, I think this is out of that post from Corey. So fixed the issue where the damaged aerodynamics damaged aerodynamics were incorrectly adding downforce. So there you go, proof of the pudding. And then made some changes as far as the penalties and the repair process, which we talked about.
Lots of little stuff we don't need to review.
And they did have a database update today, but no notes on that other than they did a database update.
All right, Brad. And how about Vicente Salas?
Yep. So got an X post here from Vicente Salas from Alpha Prime Racing. So he's getting to start this weekend at Rockingham. So after turning on some laps in our preseason tests, Vicente Salas is set to make his NASCAR Xfinity Series debut this weekend at Rockingham Speedway. So yeah, super cool. We've seen he's made some late model starts and done well in those. So excited to see him get a chance. Yeah, very cool. I think the guy's talented. So that's a challenging track to make your first start at.
I hope he's been working out, because that will put you through the ringer at that track.
Well, they repaved it, so it's completely different from what
I-
we've got in the sim now. So,
I
but
just
it's going to
think
be quick.
it's going to be quick and more of the G forces that he's going to be feeling.
Yeah, I mean they were ripping it around there that open test they had, with Xfinity and the trucks. So should be interesting. We had thought about going down there this weekend, since it's not but a few hours for us, but just couldn't make it work.
Is it on the Saturday or the Sundays?
Trucks are Friday night, and then Saturday is a doubleheader between ARCA and Xfinity.
So they are staying away from Sunday.
Yeah, it's Easter Sunday, so thank goodness. There's no reason when the last few years when Cup Series is run on Easter, it's ridiculous.
And then Garrett Lowe, over in the is it the Euro NASCAR series?
Yep,
He got
Euro
2
Series.
top 10s, so he is performing in his first starts and bringing home some nice finishes.
Yep, so they run a 2-race weekend. So in the first race he finished 6th, and second race he finished 7th. So yeah, pretty cool. And this is again collaboration between what is it, BNS Competitive? I think that's the team, the esports team he runs for. And then they've obviously got some connections to a Euro Series car. So very cool. I think they actually have some connections with I think Turner Motorsports too, don't they? I think that's if I'm thinking correctly.
Could be, yep. Next up is the Sim Gaming Expo. That's September 5th through the 7th in Schaumburg, Illinois. You can save on tickets 10% by using the IRLP10 discount code when you register. Guys, the update this week is I've ordered the banner. We have a 10-foot by 5-foot iRacers Lounge banner. We're going to hang on the pipe and drape at our booth so everybody can find us and come hang out. So be looking for that. What other announcements, Brad, of attendees are showing up?
Yep. So we've got Daniel Newman Racing's going to be there. For those that run some of the wheels, you may know Daniel Newman Racing is pretty popular for his LED profiles, and as far as button boxes, stuff like that. And he's actually branched out into dashes and doing quite a bit of stuff. So he's going to be there. Also going to have Team Impact. So this is Impact Sim Sport joins Sim Gaming Expo. So they're an esports team. And then we've also got Design Studio. Don't know what this is exactly, but they're based out of Northern California. Design Studio is a couple-owned small business creating handcrafted 3D printed art accessories inspired by gaming. So again, remembering this is a sim gaming expo, so we're going to have other stuff there other than sim racing. So yeah, these continue to keep coming in every week. There seems to be at least one or two announcements.
Yes, and yeah, the last one kind of threw me off when you look at what they do and their product. I don't know if it has anything to do with simming at all. But look, hey, if they pay money and they buy a booth, they want to show up. I guess that's part of it too. But yeah, the other thing I was going to say is that team. They have an esports team coming. Okay, so guess what? We're an esports team, right? Tifosi Racing. So there's going to be rigs set up and there's going to be some kind of tournament. And I'm going to call out to the organizers, look, Tifosi Racing needs to be in this tournament.
What are you going to get us involved in?
Greg, you're going to be our ringer.
Why is that?
Because you're the road king, right?
That's William.
I was going to say, only if we're going to be doing the cup car.
I want to be involved in the esports stuff. So we'll see if we can, but who knows? All right, let's get into events. William, how about the Road America 500?
Road America 500 is coming up April 25th and 26th. It runs a couple of the old vintage cars, the Nissan GTP ZXT and the Audi 90 GTO at Road America, obviously. It's 500 miles, not laps.
Those cars are ridiculous.
Yeah. Standard special event time slots. Yeah, and like you said, I have heard that they are a blast to drive. I have never driven any of them. And I think I'm actually busy that weekend, so I don't know if I'll get in there or not, but I've heard they're a lot of fun.
The definition of turbo lag.
In the forums, guys were saying, how long was this race? 4.5 hours.
That's not terrible.
Brad, this week in iRacing?
Yeah, pretty much all the standard stuff. I will point out that the iRacing Grand Prix Tour is back. This will be week 5 of 24. It will be at the Virginia International Raceway. So most of the other stuff is off. eNASCAR is off this week. The college race ran this past Tuesday. Not sure who won, so there you go.
Clampett, I think.
You may be right.
Podcast housekeeping. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for more listeners to find the podcast. Mention the podcast to your fellow drivers so they don't miss out. We would appreciate it. Check out our Discord and get involved in the discussion. It's popping over there, guys. And of course, our website is iRacersLounge.com, where you can find the show notes. And we're in regular rotation at Performance Motorsports Network. And get your merchandise in time for the Sim Gaming Expo at iRacersLounge.shop. Fantasy, Brad.
All right, so the iRacers Lounge Podcast Fantasy League rolled into Bristol this past weekend. Taking the win was Drake C36. AJ14 was second. Third was Mackenzie Stevens. Fourth was Lalos Amigos. Three people tied for fourth, with Mike's W2833 and then TGI Racing as well. And shout out to Tyler Williamson, Fatboy 1990, with a 10th place finish, and Mr. William with a 10th place finish with Penguin Racing.
Did the NASCAR media finally figure out that the car is shit this week?
I think that's been the overarching discussion. Well, I don't know. We blamed Goodyear for everything, and we expect Goodyear to fix everything. That's not going to happen. Now there's talk about potentially reconfiguring Bristol again. So again, let's continue to deflect. So it can't be the car's fault. It's the tires'
on
fault.
dirt.
It's the tires' fault, or it's the track fault. Could it possibly be the car's fault?
NASCAR doesn't make mistakes. It's not the car's fault.
Well, if you listen to Denny Hamlin's podcast this week, he did a very good job. I think a very politically correct and very diplomatic way of explaining that the issue is with the car. From the very beginning of this car being tested, there were issues and there were concerns brought up, and they really weren't addressed. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think the car is going anywhere. And then I see a post or whatever, Elton Sawyer, we're not going to rest on the short track package. Shut up, Elton.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it.
I was gonna say they have so many tools at their disposal to try something, to give like they've used iRacing to build tracks. Could they not try and simulate something? I mean, obviously they have their own probably programs to simulate with all the manufacturers and stuff like that, but couldn't you just see what a race might, because we're pretty close to what the racing actually looks like, and besides having the tire types that they have. But why would they not try and just see what, hey, let's increase it to 800, 900. See, I know they don't want to do the horsepower, but without spending the money on actually testing it, couldn't you simulate it and see what it looked like?
It wasn't just Denny Hamlin. Everybody's talking about this. So Kenny Wallace and Happy Harvick on the Harvick podcast, and so many others. I think it's just the big topic of the week. And you look at the comments on those social media posts, and you see all the fans got it right. Like, rip the crap off the bottom of the car and add more horsepower. Problem solved.
Well,
I don't think.
Sorry, Brad. Go ahead.
I don't think that'll fix the issue. Again, it's systemic to the car. What confuses me is, we go to Martinsville and we go to Richmond. We take the rakes out of what is it? What's in the back of the car? William, help me.
Diffuser.
Diffuser. We take the diffuser off at those two short tracks, but yet we don't take it off at Bristol. Well, let's take a short track that struggles to begin with, and let's go ahead and make it even more aero dependent.
Here's my question: is why do they think that? Why do you think that the horsepower wouldn't solve it? If you have to get up on the gas and try and spin those tires at the back, leaving the corner, and then you actually have to slow the car down more in the corner, it creates a speed difference that will wear tires more, because some people attack corners differently that way. Whereas here they're just running qualifying laps because they can attack the corner all the same. They would have to change the fundamental driving style. It would change all their driving styles again back to what's comfortable for them, because you'd have to figure out how to get the tires to hook up. You'd have to figure out how to get the car slowed down. They might actually have to put the better braking packages in the cars for some of these tracks.
David, this is where you're going to play your beating the horse sound, okay?
Yeah, I wish I knew exactly what all was said, but it's the car, it's the car, it's the car, it's the car. It's not
you
good
didn't
year.
miss out.
It's
That's
not
right.
good year.
That's
It's not
exactly.
good year. It's the car, it's the car, it's the car. And it's the car. And they're in a dead end with this car. I didn't know they were taking the diffuser off at Martinsville.
They're not in a dead end if they haven't tried everything.
Are they actually taking the diffuser off
to try some things?
Yeah. The diffuser is not
Okay.
part of the package.
What about the splitter? Let's get rid of the splitter too.
Yeah, but that splitter's not going anywhere.
I never
So-
understood why they put the
It needs
splitter
to.
on in the first place.
because they got to the point where they realized that if you sealed the cars off, you helped with downforce. That was the whole thing.
That's the point, though. Take away the downforce.
I understand that, but again, look, Junior said it on his podcast. Once they started sealing the cars, it's a hard thing to go back, to get away from that. Look,
But
I
they'll
just
make it harder if they get rid of the splitter.
I
It'll
got
be
you.
harder to seal them.
Look, the best thing that came out of the weekend was Kyle Larson saying, after he won, it was either in his post race from Sunday or if it was from Saturday. I don't know which it
The
was, but
Xfinity car being the best.
yeah. But when he said, "Look, I like to drive the Xfinity car because it's fast and you have to slow down. The truck is a turd and the Cup car is a turd." It's basically what he said. There's no difference between the two. They're not fun, and it's basically what he said. The reason he likes to drive the Xfinity car is because it's fast. You have to slow the car down, and you have to actually drive the car.
You know what the worst problem is, and this is, I've realized this as soon as this week started. I saw all these podcasts going after the car and doing it. It's not going to mean anything because they're going to have a whole week off without any podcasts now, not talking about it. And then when they go to Talladega, it's just going to be forgotten until they go back to a short track again.
So we can watch them.
They got lucky because NASCAR got lucky because they don't have to answer to it next weekend when they go to a track because there isn't a next weekend.
Well, that's true, but we'll get to Talladega and they'll run 60% throttle, the whole race because never mind, whatever. All right, key the dead horse sound, David.
Brad got frustrated.
They're going to have to address it because the people are not showing up at the track.
But that's
what I said earlier. We blamed the tires. Now it's the track's fault. So again, we got to reconfigure Bristol. That's the next discussion. It's no different than we come out of Atlanta and now what the discussion is. What other mile-and-a-half track can we take and turn into an Atlanta track? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
But is Atlanta really racing? I mean,
no, it's not.
It's not.
Atlanta in a couple years will be back to the way it was, which will be good. But they just, the problem I have is they're bitching and moaning that they don't want to pay that or that it's going to cost the owners to do all this stuff with the cars, but they have no problem saying, hey, the track should change and cost the track money to do stuff too. It's not NASCAR. Look, if Bristol decides to resurface the track, that's SMI because they're worried. Again, for them, it's an attendance thing. They've got to do. That's why they did dirt. As stupid as that was, they had to do something because the racing had gotten so bad at the track. But they spent a lot of money to probably make nothing with it.
2018, 2019, according to Jeff Gluck, were better races according to the race poll. So it was not the track configuration because they got back to having good races with the Gen 6 car.
They've been hit and miss. I mean, there's been very good races, and we've had bad races too. I think part of the issue is it's Bristol. It's like Dover. It's very temperature sensitive, and depends on what the temperature is. Depends on what kind of race you have.
It was hit and miss in the old configuration as well. And I'm sorry, I don't like a 20 caution race. We're going to disagree on that one, I know.
What if they put a big tarp over top of it? Then the track won't get the temperature and then it'll wear tires.
Well, somebody actually suggested bringing in the people who do the ice hockey. I
heard that. I heard that one because they're doing an ice hockey in Florida this next.
I think that was. I don't remember which show it was.
All it is coolant lines underneath the ice that just keep it cool.
Ultimately, this car can't run at short tracks. They're too dependent on air downforce underneath the car. And so like Denny said, at Bristol, every turn he was going into the corner, not focusing on running the fastest line, but focusing on not running the same line as the car in front of him.
Yep. So, all right, to close this one out, overall standings, we've got Mud Dog in the lead, followed by Canadian TG1 Racing, and Mike Wuju tied for third. Fifth is AJL 14. So,
all right. Tariffs, they're a thing. And Ace Tech says prices are going up.
Yeah, we got a nice little video there from the CEO of Ace Tech Sim Sports, just explaining the situation. I like this. I like forthcoming from a European company. He plainly says, we build in Europe. So he understands what's happening with the tariffs. And They're going to keep the price the same on whatever local stock is available, but going forward, of course, the pricing may be impacted.
I do appreciate that they are not going to bump the cost until their costs are affected. So
unlike we discussed with Fanatec last
Fanatec,
week,
yeah.
they just went ahead and said, "Oh, screw it, we're just going to increase everything by at least 50 to 60%."
Well, Fanatec is just the pinnacle of customer service, right?
The company that bought them,
Corsair.
Where are they? Are they an American company, or are they a European company?
I think they're American, but I'm not
They're
sure.
American.
Well, most of the stuff that comes into America comes from California, right? So it's actually shipped in from the east somewhere.
They have a distribution in California.
But is it being made in Germany or is it being made in China?
I think it comes. Well, I bet you parts of it probably come from China to Germany and then is shipped over to you guys in the States.
All right, something like this is always really nice. We have direct drive bases by the numbers, and so what this is it's basically a pretty little spreadsheet showing you all the prices and Newton meters and brands of all the different direct drives.
I love this. Thanks to Chad McNeese for putting this together. If you're talking to somebody who's in the market for a base, this is a perfect graphic to share, because it literally has every one of them, guys, like an entire list of every base, every manufacturer, the price point, the Newton meter torque amount, as well as a formula for the dollar per Newton meter. And so he has them actually sorted by dollar per Newton meter. And so the actual best value out there as far as dollar per Newton meter is at $39 a Newton meter. It's the Sim Magic Alpha Evo Pro.
So just looking at this, just because we mentioned Fanatec, the most expensive, $94 a Newton meter for the Fanatec 5 Newton meter CSL DDE base after their current price increase.
Fanatec is literally at the bottom of the list when it comes to dollars per Newton meter.
So the dollars, the red is, as it goes from here, it's going red. They're saying on the bottom it's low torque. It's got low torque too.
Yeah.
Type thing. Okay.
Big shout out to Chad. Chad is super active on our Discord. The guy's he is. I've told him multiple times. He's super detail oriented, and the amount of time he spends into keeping track of all this stuff is incredible. So, yeah, if you're looking in the market, and this was kind of eye opening to me. I mean, I've got a Sim Magic Alpha, and I'm like, oh, what did I pay? I'm like, oh, that going $51 a Newton meter. That's kind of expensive. But then you start looking at some of the other ones, and I mean, even the surprising to me, like a SimuCube Pro wasn't, but it's $4 more per Newton meter than what I paid. It's just interesting. I never really thought about looking at this as cost per Newton meter.
Yeah,
that doesn't paint the whole picture, though. Now it paints some of the picture, but it doesn't paint the picture of customer service or
ecosystem.
Ecosystem. Those are the two biggies as well. The one thing that SimuCube and Fanatec still really have is just a huge amount of choices for wheels. Though I will certainly not be buying any. I really hope neither one of my rims even go out on this Fanatec, because I don't want to buy another thing from them.
So as the China
60% more,
as the 125% China tariffs come into play, how many of these on this list are going to be affected by that and go up in price? There's not going to be, like, I'm trying to look which ones are US based. Well, we have Sim Experience.
Yeah, they are. Most, I mean, SimuCube is Europe. Sim Magic is China. Conspit's China.
Moses, China, right?
Probably.
Yeah,
VRS is, I don't know where
Europe.
Racers.
I think they're Europe.
Europe.
Ace Tech is Europe.
SimLab is Europe.
What is VNM?
That's
Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Okay.
So,
But I mean, one of the things that's getting them these low prices is the fact that their labor and their economy structure is just so much cheaper. In some cases, just really kind of horrific conditions. They definitely don't have the same quality of life for their lower end workers.
Yeah. So I think Chad put this in the Discord too. You know, this is one component of the whole picture, just like David said. Just because you have a very good value on the Newton meter per dollar doesn't mean it's necessarily the best. I mean, I would put my SemiCube up against anything. And a lot of it's personal feel too. And one quick correction: VRS is American based.
Oh, good. And then the other thing I noticed, V&M is really at the top of the list for value, as well as Moza and some others. But I see kind of V&M, stacked at the top.
But how much do we even really know about them other than a few reviews, right? They don't have.
They're still pretty new to us.
Here's the thing I was just looking up because I wanted to see what the price comparison is. So they're saying the Moza R12 is $499 on there, right? I'm just trying to go back and forth. It's $639 here in Canadian dollars for me, so I guess that's pretty comparable, especially at the conversion right now with it being a horrible dollar. Maybe we don't have the 100. Well, we don't have 100%, 200% China tariffs right now.
I think you have to still bring them in through the U.S., don't you?
I'm not sure where our because we have our store that only sells them here in Canada is called Canada Computers, which is probably like your micro centers, and I guess they would, depending on where they would get their stuff from. I'm not sure.
So if you're able to get around all the tariffs, we may just start a ring of importing through you. But we'll just bring a whole supply down to the expo. We'll turn the booth into that.
I'm not going across the border with that stuff.
All right. So you don't want to put all of those items into motion, Greg, huh?
No. I guess we got another post here from was it Virtual Motion Sports Studios Instagram page. Full motion cockpit. Is this a price tag, or is there a price for this, or is someone just showing it off?
I think it's just a show off. Yeah, it's when you watch the video. Oh my gosh! I mean, the amount of movement going on. It really makes me think that sometime in the future I'm going to get D-box style motion.
Interesting though, he's got the monitors on the motion, which I think is what you should do. But boy, those things have got flex.
Is there? I was wondering because I think this is where we were at this topic the other day. It's obviously going to create, shorten the lifespan of probably those monitors being shook around like that all the time, right? Is there, what do you call it? Is there monitors out there that are designed to be more for that kind of stuff?
I don't know, but I'm not convinced that having them attached is the right answer. I like the idea, like have them separate, like mine are, stationary monitors, and you put a motion rig in front of it. Think about it. No. You're in a car. No. The car's moving up on springs, but the outside the window, it's stationary.
No. How does that? No, that doesn't work. Do you get in your car when you drive? Does the car not move? You hit a bump in the car. What happens? Does the world just stay the same, or does the car move? What happens?
Well, I guess everything moves, right?
But technically, the world is moving. We're just moving in the world too.
I don't know.
But doesn't iRacing actually have settings that are good for stationary monitors, where it will move the car if you're in a motion rig?
Yeah, Mike, do you still have your crazy gyro thing going?
I don't run it like that no more.
What?
I was gonna say I got sick when I put those settings in. I think I almost puked them. trying it for the first time.
I think that's though. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was set up. One of the ideas is if you do have stationary monitors, it will try to compensate for the fact that you're in a motion rig if you
Right.
go with those settings.
Yeah, I don't know. It's neat. I just don't think I'll ever go
Let-
motion.
Somebody let us know in the Discord.
Maybe Donnie will add that to his rig. I know he wants to keep racing and iRacing, right?
All right, we have a rim 21 performance. Boy, this is it. I thought we covered this one, or is it, or was it because I was looking ahead last week?
I think you were looking ahead last week.
Either
Yeah.
that, or they're all starting to look the same.
That's the issue.
Ding, 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 ding.
Wow.
So this is
So,
the
you
formula
think
wheel.
all formula rims look the same? That almost sounds racist.
This doesn't have a screen. 5 twisty knobs in the middle. Doesn't look fancy or anything, but got the paddles on the back, carbon fiber front. But man, the price really threw me off. 998 euros. Ooh.
Yeah, but
Oh,
well, pounds.
Pounds.
Yeah,
Pounds.
So yeah, it's different.
yeah, but it's $100 off right now. It's normally 1,100 pounds.
Woo.
Yeah.
I do believe it has the analog pedals option. I can't see the back of it, but it's got at least
It
two
does.
pair.
What was the wheel last week that was $800 with a display?
That's the Conspit Max 01.
Right. I'd buy that on 100
Yeah.
times before I'd buy this.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I don't want a display.
you racing VR.
Yeah.
So there's a wheel down later in the script that I would recommend if you don't want a display, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little funny about them all looking the same, but I mean, there's nothing that stands out. It might be a great wheel. The paddles might feel fantastic and the buttons probably work well, but again, it's the same.
Compare
Size
that
and
to that.
shape.
What was this? Is it the $300 or $400 one from Moza or Sim Magic?
Right.
Sim Magic's the in the Net Geo.
Net Geo, right? Compare it to the Net Geo. It's twice as much money.
3 times almost.
Yeah,
Right.
it's the build quality is going to be better on that than the Sim Magic Geo. That is a low. I think it's a good wheel, but the
Yeah, the
quality
Sim Magic has a lot of plastic on it, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, so this wheel we're talking about is full CNC aluminum and carbon fiber. So look, the build quality is there. It's great, again, but is it 3 times as much? I mean, I guess that's up to whoever's paying for it.
I have the Sim Magic GT4, which is full carbon fiber. It's heavy. It's nice. It doesn't do all the fancy stuff that the Geo does, but it's a better built wheel.
This topic is starting to stink.
Well, I think William brings up a good point. They all look the same. We don't ever review oval rims because oval rims all what? They look the same.
Yeah. Do they smell the same though? Greg tried to throw the transition and you walked right by it. That was a good transition, Greg. I'm pretty sure this is a rehash. I seem to remember Brian McRubbin bringing this into the show a few years ago. Yeah, he bought a few of them. So this one, you can buy racing fuel, you can buy burnt rubber. These are candles that have racing scents to them.
But Mike needs this with the fog machine when he wins, so that he smelled the burnt rubber one where it smells when he does his burnout.
I love it. It's called Racing Fuel 110 High Octane Fragrance Soy Candle for $12.99. And you can get this over at eobathandbody.com.
Nothing will set the mood any better with your new lady, Mike, than 110 octane.
Who's going to try it?
We need an atmosphere. We need to set a mood, right?
We should buy some and bring them to the Sim Expo to create an atmosphere at our booth.
Yeah, let's just light them up on the table in the booth. Heck yeah.
As the fire department comes by.
I'll email Jorge and get approval. All right, we've got a tubular frame from FGT called the Pro Evolution, and that's what it is. It's a tubular rig.
This is special though because it's a take from the original Monkey Driver, and I remember Monkey Driver back in the day as one of the first tubular cockpits. That was kind of a formula style, but it's got a certain look to it.
It was an adjustable rig, Mike, from that Monkey one. They used to have a GT down to a formula. It would move.
Right. You could adjust it on the fly, yeah, kind of thing. But so this is literally an evolution of that Monkey Driver rig. It's got the same look to it, but they've enhanced it. They brought it up to a modern standard. They've obviously probably licensed that name because they're using it in their marketing as well. I'm sure they had to pay the original company or something.
The post does still say that it switches between Formula and GT.
Yeah, it's Next Level Racing. Though. Next Level Racing, it again, tubular. Exactly, Mike. Absolutely not for me. Not something I'm interested in at all. If you are really into switching back and forth, I guess it works for you. But $1,200 US if you want one.
The seats that look so uncomfortable, and yeah, and there is some videos as you scroll down on the script guys. We have Sim Pit did a review video, as well as Sarah Nochi, and I think the biggest complaint was the seat being uncomfortable, and you could only adjust the top part of it as far as angle and such.
Yeah, I mean, Sean said it wasn't bad. I think he gave it a fair review. You're not confined, so it's not like a bucket seat. If you're a bigger guy, it's probably a little bit easier. There's not a ton of padding, but and he even mentioned, I guess there's plans for accessories to come to where you could, there's spots built into it, I guess, where you could put in a shifter, a place to mount a shifter and stuff like that. But again, it's it's tubular, and I said goodbye to tubular when I got rid of the Abuto.
Sarah Nochi's video, she indicated one thing she liked about it is this narrow footprint. So if you have a space issue, this might be a solution if you need a real narrow cockpit. The other thing I want to point out, if you look at the front of the video without playing it, look at the way the rig, it doesn't line up on the gray tube below her left knee. You can see the tubes kind of come together there, and they don't even line up. That would drive me batty.
You can also tell on her thumbnail the design. The only place it adjusts is the top two joints there, so that's not really going to be a proper GT seat. It's the bottom segment on the back is too far back for a GT seat.
The seat will come up, and then the pedal tray, you can drop the pedal tray down. So as that bottom seat comes up, it gets you, if you watch Sean's video, it gets you into definitely more of an upright position. So I don't think it's enough, but when you're trying to get something that's going to be able to convert between the two, it's probably about the best you're going to get.
Now, you said this is good for a small room. You mean taking up a whole room like Mike's isn't a good idea?
This is the entire dining room.
It's not the dining room.
Nowhere to eat.
You can't call it a
when I eat my dinner, I'm in the kitchen.
You can't call it a dining room then. It's a gaming room.
Greg, you can't. I guess his monitors are huge, but it's not like you have a super space efficient setup either.
Well, because I have it all in one room here. At least I have my studio. I can run my studio in here still too.
Mine's the space efficient. I don't even have monitors on mine. All right. We really hate the next gen car, but what about the next gen force feedback? Is it comparable, or is it just a use of the same marketing?
Yeah, I just got an Instagram post here from Moza. They have released, I guess, their next gen 4.0 force feedback. So it sounds like it's probably firmware and software, different algorithm for an enhanced experience. Enhanced experience says optimized cogging, torque compensation, temperature control algorithm, force feedback, interpolation, and algorithm, game force feedback, decoupling. So yeah, I haven't seen much about this. I was hoping John may be on here tonight because he's got Moza to see if he had updated or not. So, but
Yeah. So their Instagram post, the graphic they made, reminds me of like when EA puts out a new version of Madden, they have to tell you all the stuff they changed to make you spend the extra $60. I mean, not fair, obviously, but that's just the graphic reminded me of it. I asked in the Grassroots Discord because we have a few people that run Moza in there. A couple of guys said it was kind of a pain to actually get it installed and the firmware updated. Wasn't all that easy or intuitive. But they said they did some practice with it actually installed, and they did notice a difference, but it's not anything crazy.
Well, we were talked about it already a little bit, but we have a Instagram post of the Sim Magic Evo release.
They're on pre-order. There's no reviews that I've seen yet, so I don't know why people would buy it without a review. But yeah, they're for sale. We've had several different Instagram posts showing off the picture of it. It looks pretty nice.
yeah, this is so I guess they've redone the drive a little bit. It's supposed to be a little bit better. This is going to hit, I guess, a little bit lower. It's kind of the more of the entry level. I guess to replace the Alpha series is what it's end up going to do. Currently, you have the Mini, the Alpha, and the Ultimate. So now you're coming in. I think it's 8, 12, and 18 newton meters. So my understanding is that there's going to be another line coming at some point, which is going to be a higher end. I think they're calling it Zeus or something. My biggest concern with this, as somebody who's a Sim Magic guy, and the one reason that I bought the Alpha because I liked it, very similar to SimiCube, is the front mount. So with this one, there's no front mount inherently built into it. You have to buy an adapter that bolts to the side, then turns it into a front mount. That's my biggest concern. I like a front mount wheel. I just think from a space at when it comes to setting up your rig, a front mount to me it's just much easier. I can get the wheelbase back further. It's cleaner looking. That's my biggest concern. And then there's I hope to goodness that you can turn the RGB circle lights off. That's my whole thing with the Ace-Tech. I can't stand this the pulsing RGB lights. That would drive me crazy because when I race, I turn all my lights off basically.
I don't think I'd noticed that.
We know.
Now,
Good.
do you have more on that? Because I was moving us on.
Yeah, no, I was just letting Brad know on SimMotion's website they got pre-orders for the front mount up.
Yeah,
The Evo base.
yeah, but it's an adapter you have to attach to the side.
Right.
Yeah, it's again, and to me that just I don't know. It just
Looks like it's got a little bit of adjustment, not a ton, but a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. I think this is what you were talking about, Mike, a little bit earlier, and about a wheel that would be more suited to me. And I like it, but why don't they post the backside of these wheels when they make their posts?
Yeah, good point. This is the VRS Formula wheel, and it's got a pretty unique look to it. It's not really a carbon fiber like a traditional, kind of got this dot pattern thing going.
I guess I look more at the functionality, and I like the positions of all the buttons and rotaries. I wish it had 3 pairs of paddles on the back instead of 2, but 2 will get the job done.
What do you use the other pair for?
If I'm in the GTP, I actually switch my battery mode with that. And when we had the LMP2, that was actually the boost button, because in the LMP1 we manually boosted. We always told the hybrid when to fire. Essentially, we would have a plan exactly of how much battery we would use on each straightaway. And so that was right there on the trigger, basically to kick in the hybrid boost. Yeah, I liked it better. I'm anxious to see what the the new hybrid system will be like. I wish there was some more customizability to it instead of it just being all done by computer. And in the other, like if I'm in a GT3 car, it's my brake bias that it'll change.
The RPM light going across the top is kind of unique. It's got that Knight Rider, kit car kind of look to it almost.
Do you think it'll go across and then the two outside ones will blink, or the two outside ones will have a different reason for the blinking?
Well, I don't know, but this is a teaser to show it off. I don't think we have a price yet. It does say it's coming out later this month.
You know what we need is a Knight Rider spotter pack. But we have next up a MagShift mini review, as you all shake your heads at my terrible joke.
Yeah, this was a review by Lawrence de Suswa. So this is on the Huskenfeld mini shift, or mag shift mini. So pretty good review. I like his reviews. He's pretty thorough. He had tried the mag shift, the big one at some point, and liked that one. Just I guess his biggest complaint with that one was the actual handle, the way it was made. This thing is little. I mean, we talked about it before. It's little. It's compact, but he enjoyed it. It does what it's supposed to do. The handle, he said, had a much better ergonomical feel to it. But it's little. But this replaces their original shifter that they've had. That I think Justin's got one. It's itty bitty. It's just not big enough for me. I mean, I'm trying to think if I was to mount that, I would have to reach down so far in order to shift. Maybe if I had a rig where my sidebar was up higher or something, that would work. But it's typical Huskenfeld design. It's very simple. It works. Their stuff is like almost unbreakable just because they keep it simple. They don't overcomplicate anything. It's they're built to last. They're like tanks. So it just depends on what you want.
Look, if you already have a handbrake and you already have a H pattern, and you can sneak this in, it's so small you could find a little spot for it. That's the customer that probably wants this. Now, would I buy this as my primary shifter? I don't think I would. The same reasons Brad said. It's just too small.
Yeah.
All right, I am now looking at, I guess, a sim rig that's for the F1 fans, and it looks like it's just trying to sort of look like the cockpit of an F1 car.
Yeah, it's got that neat look of a F1 car, but it's a no-go for me because it's got the post between your legs.
Well, in an F1 car, you wouldn't be working the clutch anyway.
You know what this reminds me of? Those play seats that just covered up with a F1 cockpit over top of it.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
I used to have a play seat. That's what I was racing on before I went 80-20. But yeah, it reminds me exactly like the play seat.
Yeah, if you watch some of the later ones they actually have some 3-pedal setups, but if you've got that post between the legs, you can't really get to the clutch. We had a teammate who just simply could not run a 3-pedal setup with his play seat.
Well, the other problem is how sturdy is that wheelbase going to be on a one post with a base across it?
Yeah, it's going to be wobbling.
Yeah, but if all you've got is a G29 on there, I think
you're not putting a lot of pressure. You're right.
No.
But I just think pushing down, say you're obviously if you're a road racer, it's a little bit different. But say you're running an oval and sitting in this type of wheel base, you have your foot down at Talladega for 2 hours on one side there. I wonder if it would start putting fatigue on the plastic.
You see the angle they have the G29s at? If you watch a little bit farther into the video, they're like pointed up.
I feel like they'd be right. That'd be like right through. You'd have to be looking through the wheel to get into the monitor.
I guess it's because it's that G29 desk mount, but yeah, that just looks awful. The wheel would be, when you're holding it, would be slanted by 30 degrees.
So I'm guessing if you're going to be running a cockpit like this, it's either a TV far away playing like a Gran Turismo type game, or you're going to have a monitor stand that goes above you and across, but it's not really the best field of view.
Or VR.
You've got a
True,
TV.
VR. Yeah.
You got a TV and you're playing F1 2005 or whatever, or 2025.
Probably 2005. That one is probably better because everything older is better.
2025 is not out yet. 2024.
But remember, everything older is better. The 79s, the 87s. We need to go back to 2005 computers.
Hey, we're gonna have the early 2000s or not early. Sorry, the 1990s Cup car. That'll be better.
CRT monitors.
CRT triples. I want to see 40-inch CRT triples at Mike's house
With an 8-inch bezel.
I want to see David running CRT VR.
Oh man, then I'd really have a jar neck.
Well, we got a net that may fix that for you, David.
When it gets tired, I could just lean against it.
This is for Mike's setup. Mike needs this to go with his belt.
I don't know.
You need it for the podcast. You needed to keep yourself in the cockpit for the podcast.
So we got a window safety net from Picorni Engineering for sale, and it's a window net that would you'd put on your left side. Now it's not a NASCAR style window net. It's a little more toned down for sim racing. It's not a real safety net, but it's got a nice little connector where you can. It's got a quick release connector, so you can undo it, so you can sit down and then latch it back up. It's got like a little belt clip connector on it. Pretty cool if you need one.
So, if I'm trying to understand this, I know guys use these things, and some of the stuff looks pretty neat. But I'm trying to envision this beside me
but
here.
Let me explain what
I'm
I mean
looking
by
to
that.
the left.
This is called a
when
lenticular
I'm running
lens.
the Corvette, and then I see there's another net on the screen
behind the
net. You got to be able to turn off
net.
the screen. You have to turn off the window net in the sim, right?
How?
Just like you turn off the center post. Well, you can't, but you should be able to, just like you can turn off the center post.
I wonder if this will keep my wind simulator out, all the wind out of my sim.
I don't know. Mike, you've got a DIY option for your bezels now.
Bezel free kits. Yes. They're Josh Lab 3D on Instagram puts up a video, and he 3D printed this. So this material apparently is hard to find because you have to tear apart an old television, and you can use this material out of that for these bezel kits. But apparently there's a particular plastic or whatever that that you can buy for a 3D printer, and you can print these things. And he's provided the file name and whatever, so other people can print them. But you can basically, get somebody to print these up for you and use it on whatever size screen you want.
I watched this, and I had, when I built the rig, I bought the bezel free kit from Asus and ended up getting rid of it because the angles that I want to run my monitors at just didn't work. But looking at this, you could almost, I think this would almost work better because if you could taper it down to where it's only maybe a couple inches, and just run it right down in the middle, that may work. Who's on the team that's got the 3D printing stuff?
Kyle.
Yeah, maybe we ought to see about Kyle. Look at this. I would be almost interested to try this if you could. Again, if you could do something maybe about 1.5 inches or something. The one thing I didn't like about the Asus ones is they're like 3 inches wide. I mean, they're really wide. Have you got them, William? You're looking over at your rig.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, to me, it's pretty cool. You can 3D print it. I've got a 3D printer sitting behind me too. But it's pretty cool. You can print it. To me, it was worth paying for. Yeah. it works just fine for me. It takes a lot to set up and get to where it looks right, and you don't have any dark spots and all that sort of stuff. But once you actually get it set up, I've been
So
nothing but happy with it.
you could essentially 3D print a large sheet and then measure it down and cut it right into the right shapes for your particular setup.
What it looks like, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. So, interesting.
It never worked for me because I had one at one point, the Asus kit on my old triples, but the problem with that is the old triple bezels were really thick, and it just never lined up right. So I got rid of it.
Well, instead of a high-end weed killer, we have a high-end wheel killer.
Yeah, one more before we get to results. This is from OC Racing. It's a review of the Mercedes F1 wheel, the Lewis Hamilton, George Russell knockoff from last year. And yeah, I mean, it's a great wheel if you can afford it. For me, one thing I learned in this video I didn't realize before, it's only 280 millimeters. Ooh, that's a no deal for me. I like the 300s.
That is really teeny.
It is. And it's thick too for a 280. So I was like, even though it's a replica wheel, yeah, I want a 300 because I'm racing more than an F1 car. I'm racing GT cars and I'm racing other open wheel cars, Indy cars, and different things. So I need the 300 millimeter. 280 is just not going to do it.
Just too expensive. This one is what, like 2,500 or something?
Yeah, it's $2,500.
So it's a high-end wallet killer.
All right, moving on to results. NASCAR iRacing Series Bristol Friday Open. Brad wrecked.
Yeah. So my streak of good luck at Bristol ended. I guess we got in about not quite. I don't know if we got into halfway. Maybe we got to halfway, and the guy in front of me just driving super aggressive. We were running. I was probably running. I don't know, fourth or fifth, something like that. And he got loose coming off the corner, and he's like, yeah, I got loose and I figured I would just shove it in the wall. Well, that really doesn't work when there's someone directly behind you. So I had to yank it to the left to try to avoid him. And then I just ended up pounding the inside wall and, yeah, just too much damage, no options to fix, no options to do anything. So, yeah, that kind of sucked. So,
All right, Sunday Open. Tony Rochette P4. Stayed top 5 car most of the race till there was a wreck and was slowly passing it when I got T-boned on the top. But cautions kept me in the top 5 still and even got to the leads some laps on the final restart. But got screwed in pits when I got tires and only had one set left with 70 to go. Hindsight, should have taken them on the final restart with 50 to go. Probably would have stayed competitive. Greg P5. Greg walked away. Okay. And then moving on down to A Open, Brad, Vegas, P7.
Yeah, started P3. Ran up front, really most of the race, kind of back and forth, fighting for the lead. But we ended up with a bunch of yellows till about halfway or so, and then ended up with I think we had about a 45, maybe 50, 45 lap run to the finish. And I got lulled into racing too hard for the lead. As I'm racing and I'm like, I'm running too hard. I'm going to kill the tires. Well, that's what I did. I cooked the tires. So with about 15 to go, I just started falling back. Ended up finishing P7. So I did it to myself. I told myself as I was racing, I'm like, don't do this. But you know how it is. You have a shot to take the lead. You keep, you get the outside run and you want to take it. Then you get the inside run and you want to take it. And yeah, I just should have played a little bit easier.
John got a P10, had a great run going on lap 50, car to the outside of me, decided to pit from the outside lane, and I rear-ended him. Gave me 30 seconds of optional, but never had time to fix it since there was only one caution. The front end damage slowed me down the rest of the race, but I'll take the top 10.
Who in the world thinks you can pit from the outside lane?
It's Vegas, baby. IMSA, David, P4, Imola.
Yeah, since I haven't run much, I figured I'd throw this one on here, even though it wasn't a podium finish. Qualified P5 and actually passed a couple of cars on the cold tires because they were struggling really bad. I was slower than my race pace because it's cold tires with the new GT tire model. A couple of those guys made it back to me, and then one of them wrecked out. But I like the challenge of it, and it's actually a kind of. I mentioned this in the previous race as well. You just can't bonsai the GT3s like you could with the old setup, and I think that's a good thing. Most of the time, I'm going to be passing them on the exit. There was a couple of corners where I pulled beside a guy before the apex, but he had to back. He still had to get off the gas. Cost him a little time, but it's not my job to protect his lap time. But I do like the new model.
It's not my job to protect your lap time either.
Yeah, but if I put myself there, it's your job not to wreck me.
Just real quick though, you're right. The new tire model has made the racing multi-class so much better, and that's coming from the GT3 side as well. It's so much better on both sides since that's been put in.
Nice. All right. IndyCar iRacing Series, Tom Dreiling, P5. Started 16th, was able to work my way to a top 5. Long Beach can be fun. Grassroots Racing, William, Daytona, P6.
Yep. So because I mistakenly missed last week, I put the last 2 weeks of our league in there, and I was single parenting up last week, so I put my daughter to bed and just fell asleep on the couch. I was not planning on missing, so that's my bad. But yeah, Daytona was our first week of season 4. Ran P6. Frustrated because I was running P3rd. First lap, turn 4, car forgets to brake. I think it was like 10th place. Manages to miss everybody, but then T-bones me coming through. He just slid through the grass and killed me. Got a little bit of wheel damage. He took me and P4 out and then caused a gigantic pile up. Fell back to P17. Was able to get back up through the field. Sorry for some of the AMs I dove because I was trying so hard to get back up there. But I'll take that after that start. A little bit frustrated though because next week, week 2 of the league, is Long Beach, and man, I cannot stand this track. I am slow. I feel like the McLaren is slow. Just nothing good happens to me in GT3 at Long Beach. Qualified P4, I think. Finished P9 because I spun the car coming out of turn 8. Right in front of a GTP. He tagged me. Luckily, no damage for either of us, but I fell back to, I think, 16th and had to work my way back up.
Okay, then MX5?
Yeah, so we had so much fun with our community race that we did, MX5 at Daytona. Grassroots been talking about starting a second league for a long, long time. So we finally pushed up this. We run MX5s at the hour before we do our GT race. We keep the schedule the same. It's really just a place for guys to come have fun. We don't really practice for it. Just kind of drop in and have fun. And it's a blast to race. Let me tell you, it's kind of hard swapping back and forth between the Mazda and the GT3, but it really is a blast to race. Daytona finished P6. Qualifying was left open by mistake, so that was interesting with the Mazdas because the draft is such a thing and you can't touch or you get your lap invalidated.
Aren't mistakes wonderful sometimes?
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. But it was interesting. So I did not qualify well. Qualified like P18 or something. Was able to work my way up through the field, but I didn't have anybody to draft with to kind of catch the lead pack that I got in the way. So finished P6. I'll take that, especially no practice going in, dropping in. It's a lot of fun. However, Long Beach again. I hate that place. Not so bad in the Mazda. It was actually pretty fun to drive around. Me and one of the guys from the GT3 league were running around 10th. Having a pretty good battle, swapping places back and forth. We probably should have stayed in line, tried to catch people, but we were having a lot of fun. But going into turn 1, my internet hiccuped. I blinked out completely, and when I came back in, I was in the middle of somebody's car. It wasn't his fault. I'd completely disappeared. It was my internet. I know it happened. Something happened in the neighborhood with Comcast. But that kind of ended my race there. I drive a Perry the Platypus livery in MX5 just to be funny, and he died a horrible death.
Ouch. Evil Comcast.
Yeah, it happens.
All right. So stuff I ran the Ray Formula 1600 at VIR. First one, P6. Next race wrecked out. Turn one, lap one, I was a bit aggressive, and the guy didn't give me any room. Next race, I finished P6 after starting dead last in 10th. Next one, I got wrecked out and turned. This time I fell to dead last, made my way back up to finish P6. Next one, I started 6th, got to second on lap one, and ended up finishing 3rd. That's my best. Qualified my best time ever in this race, and I was only 9th out of 11 and my best lap ever. Then I got to 5th by lap one, but fell to finish P6. As I try to do my Robbie Swan impersonation. All right. Final thoughts, Brad Wren.
I've kind of enjoyed the off week with NIS this week. I ran a couple A opens, but so I decided last weekend I got a list together and pulled the trigger on adding haptics to the rig. So I've gotten everything in. So I think I'm going to tackle that between Friday and Saturday night since it's an off weekend. I'm excited to see what that's going to be like. Years ago in my Abuto, I had just a single butt kicker, and I did enjoy that, but it was kind of annoying when you raced in the den and people wanted to watch TV. So yeah, just excited to see what that's going to be like. Hoping it's going to go pretty smooth. Kind of, got a bunch of stuff from SimSport Gadget for mounting all the other stuff because I'm anal about how stuff gets mounted on the rig. So from the from the power bricks for the sound amps and all that stuff, I think I'm going to start running out of room to mount stuff. But I just looking forward to that. I'm sure it's going to be a challenge. Going to mount the larger puck to the bottom of my seat, so I'm going to end up drilling through my seat. It's a little sketchy, but
I did it.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, just excited to add another level of immersion to the rig. Like I said, motion is probably something I'll never be able to do, so this is probably going to be as close as I'll get. So this is the next phase. I mean, we're never done, but that's all we ever do is we just continue to add and add and add. So project for the weekend.
So I ended up buying a piece of black wood that happened to fit just perfectly and putting 4 little corner brackets on it and making a shelf underneath the pedal tray for the amps for my butt kickers. And so you may realize you're going to need a shelf, for all the like the power supplies of the amps. You're talking about bolting them on to your rig, but man, that's, like you said, are you going to have enough space? You might think about doing a shelf underneath the seat or underneath the pedals.
Yeah, so my goal is to have the pucks and everything mounted inside the rig. I'm not keen on them being on the outside, just because from the OCD in me, I don't like seeing wires, and if I can keep it as clean as possible, so that's going to be the plan. The goal is to have pucks everywhere, but you won't see any of them. So that's the plan.
Good luck. All right, Greg Hector's final thought.
It's the off weekend. We got a race this weekend, don't we? For it's next weekend for the race that we're doing. Okay. So I'm just looking forward to. Maybe I'll find some road racing to do this weekend. Maybe I'll take care of some of that trophy list that list that we talked about in the show here. Try and pick up a win on a car that I haven't won in. I don't know. I'm gonna try and do something this weekend because I haven't been in my rig much and I want to start racing more. But I always say that and something always comes up.
All right, David Hall, final thought.
Now, we do have a community race tomorrow night.
Yes, tomorrow.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That was what I was talking about.
Yeah. The Indy 50 or the 500 divided by 10. I'm probably actually going to try to make that because the majors is going to be at the Indy 500. So I need to get to get used to the car. One of the things we didn't cover in that video where we were beating the dead horse, and yes, the dead horse does have a sound, is that he mentioned that iRacing in some cases is almost spreading themselves a little thin, like maybe with the console games and such. even with new content, it is as much as I'd like to see some of the new content going. I'd like to say again, we really need to fix the marshaling in the cautions. I am done.
All right, William Westbrook, final thought.
We had a couple listeners join us in grassroots over the last couple races. Shout out to Will Weaver, who's active in our Discord sometimes, and some of his guys over at his free time racing community. They've come over. Sound like they're having a blast. We're happy to have them. I have not done an official in I don't know how long, so I'm hoping to get some MLA IMSA done, and maybe since NIS is off, me and Brad can crash a couple. Other than that, yeah,
I struggle.
time.
I struggle at
I love Imola, man. It's a
Uh,
great track.
I have not turned enough laps there to be completely confident. I turned some the other night and I was like, oh, it's too many 90-degree lefts and rights.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be away from Long Beach to Imola. So yeah, I'm gonna do a couple of those and have fun.
Yep. All right, and my final thought, yeah, let's give some love to Chris Waldron's event tomorrow night, guys. 8:30 p.m. Eastern is the open practice, and then 9 p.m. is the race. It's the Dallara IR 18 at Indy, and fixed setups, 50 laps. Come out and race with the iRacers Lounge guys. Should be fun. Yeah, just enjoying the off week. I was explaining on the stream. They're like, "Oh, why aren't you racing?" I'm like, "Well, I take a week off. We only get one a year during the season of NASCAR, and it's part of not burning out. You don't want to burn out on iRacing, so you have to find that sweet spot of moderation. And so it is kind of a nice break to step away from the NASCAR this week. I'm having fun in the FF 1600, and I'll probably continue that in the next couple of days and try to see if I can get a win. I did hear from Moza about my M Booster active brake pedal I spent $900 on 4 weeks ago. Well, they said I'm in batch number 2, and they're working on that, and it should ship within 21 days. So that was like last Thursday or Friday when I got that email. So I'm patient. I'll wait. As long as I don't have to pay a tariff, I'm good. And with that, we'll see you on the track. Later.